Now available in paperback and on ebook platforms such as Kindle and Smashwords. Isis, Bride of Dracula. The Goddess Next Door teams up with John Haynes to take on the Dark Vampire Lord in this Isis series adventure. Pick up Isis, Bride of Dracula at your online bookseller today. A couple of days ago, Marvel Studios announced that Zendaya, a biracial actress, would be playing the role of Mary Jane, Peter Parker's girlfriend, in 2017's upcoming Spider Man Homecoming. And the internet was abuzz with a lot of controversy over this latest casting of an African American female in a role that was originally a white character. And some of people were going out saying that they were expecting a whole backlash from the racists, but I didn't expect any backlash from any racists. And I'll tell you why. Because in many cases, when it comes down to the casting of African American women in white roles, there really isn't much controversy. I mean, most black people, they're not going to argue about that because it's a case of a black woman with a white man. I didn't see the rage that I saw when we had Finn in Star Wars and everybody thought that Finn was going to get a chance at getting with Rey. Now, when it's a black man with a white woman, that's when we see super duper outrage from many of these white male fanboys. However, we look at what happened with the casting of the female who is a part of the Flash as Iris West, and there wasn't much controversy there. But what people were angry about was the fact that this black actress was placed in a role that really is critical to the story. Because when we look at the story of the Flash, Iris West goes on to become Barry Allen's wife, and a lot of people were upset with that because here you are, you're taking a key character in the character's history and you're making them a character of color, and that really derails the adaptation, and it really prevents us from really seeing what the story was true to the comics. And that's the argument a lot of comic fans had with the Flash, because we look at the whole Iris West thing and Barry Allen, all these interracial and racial components pretty much take us away from the content of what was a great story of Barry Allen's relationship with Iris West, which has really on the show become underdeveloped overall, and the overall establishment of the Kid Flash, which was Wally West. All of that was pretty much taken off course from the original comics and taken down a road that pretty much took away from what made the story substantive, and that's what people were upset about when it came to the Flash. Because we look at the whole story, because I watched Flash season 2, and that's what the diversity really sucked a lot of the story out of it. What was really good about it was supposed to be a relationship between Barry Allen and Wally West. We never got to see that develop, all because of these racial and diversity components that really sucked the life out of the story. And when we look at this whole Zendaya as Mary Jane, the exact same thing looks like it's happening all over again. Instead of us focusing on the relationship between Peter Parker and Mary Jane and the content of the characters, all we're doing is getting caught up in the color of the character's skin. And that's really taking away from the story. And that's why I do not like these diversity replacements in these comic book adaptations, because they take us away from what was great about the original comic book story. What was great about the comic book story is pretty much getting left on the floor, and the great stuff that the substance is being not being the main center of it, but what we're focusing on is skin color and race, and that's really why I do not like adding these diversity characters, because these diversity characters, they don't make things diverse. All they do is make the story a little that much harder to follow, because instead of people focusing on the content of their characters, they're focused on the color of their skin. And that's the big problem with this whole Mary Jane and Peter Parker thing. I mean, people know this story, they know what it's about, and they want to focus on what's great about that story. And they can't focus on that because now it's become about race. And really, I don't think Marvel Studios really needed to go in that direction, because we really don't need to focus that hard on diversity. When I look at how well they executed diversity in Captain America Civil War, where we saw Falcon, War Machine, and Black Panther in a movie with all these other Marvel heroes and having key roles in the story, that's the type of diversity, I want to see, because we saw the content of their characters. We saw Black Panther develop and grow as a character. We saw Falcon supporting Captain America. We saw War Machine get some development as a character. All three of those characters were characters that were crucial to the story. And that's what made Captain America Civil War, a great stride in diversity regarding especially black men. However, when it comes down to black women in superhero films, I see this as another step back. When I look at what happened with that angry black female in Captain America Civil War, that was a step back. And I look at this casting as another step back. It clearly shows me that many, when it comes down to creating superhero films, are just as clueless as some comic creators are when it comes to creating superhero women. They don't know how to create strong female heroines of color. So they try to shoehorn diversity in places where it doesn't fit. And when I look at this whole casting, it really, again, just doesn't need to be there, because it takes us out of the story and the content of the story and makes us focus on skin color. And we really don't need to focus on skin color when it comes to a great character like Spider-Man and his relationship with Mary Jane. We need to be focused on Spider-Man and Mary Jane. This is really, it's going to take people out of the story. And with fantasy, you really need to suspend people's disbelief. And I'm all for diversity, but well done diversity. When I look at Captain America Civil War, that was well done diversity. That was well executed diversity. That was perfect, because we saw 3 black characters on the screen getting major screen time, getting major story time, and getting development. That's a direction you want to take. You don't want to just bring in a character, shoehorn some diversity in by making a white character black. As a creator myself, I don't want that done, because I wouldn't want it done to my characters. A lot of these guys out here are talking about diversity, saying we need to add, black characters. We need to have a black, like a black female Iron Man or a female Thor. I'm not for that at all, because I look at it this way. As a black creator, I would not want anyone taking any of the characters I create, such as an Isis, a John Haynes, an E-Steam, and turn them into white characters or Asian characters or Hispanic characters, all for the sake of diversity. I created a story featuring black characters, and if they are all black, then they should remain all black, just like I would want those Marvel characters to remain all white. If that creator made that character a certain race or certain ethnicity, they made them that way for a reason, and we need to respect and honor what those creators made beforehand. Again, I believe in the concept of doing unto other creators' work as I would want done unto mine. And when I create characters such as your Isis, your John Haynes, your E-Steam, and many others, I want them to remain true to how I created them. And I would want to, when I work on a character like a Batman or a Superman or a Spider-Man, if I ever got the chance, I would want to try to make sure that that character remained true to what someone like Stan Lee or Bob Kane or many of these other creators established when they first created them. And that is having respect for that creator, the character, and the source material. And that's what a good creator does. And that's what I always go out to try to do. Because I sit there and I say to myself, again, I want my property to be treated with the same respect, and that's why I'm going to go out of my way to respect those creators and their work. But when I look at this type of casting, it's just, a gimmick. It's just a way to shock people into going to see this movie, and you really don't need to shock people to go see Spider-Man Homecoming. I mean, Captain America Civil War laid a strong foundation for this film, and it really does not need some sort of gimmick casting like this. What the producers really should do is really stop trying to get on this diversity train, because diversity done like this is poorly executed. I mean, there are, again, great characters in the Spider-Man universe who are black. I mean, I look at Robbie Robertson, Glory Grant. Those are 2 core characters that are a part of Spider-Man's universe. If you really wanted to talk about, again, serious diversity, you'd be talking about Robbie Robertson or Glory Grant and adding them to the Spider-Man universe in Spider-Man Homecoming. You talk to me about that, then I can say that you're serious about diversity. Because I've seen storylines with Glory Grant in them, like the Lobo brothers from many years ago, about 88, 89. Robbie Robertson has had stories. If you want to do that with Spider-Man, great. That's going to show me that you're bringing diversity to the Spider-Man universe by using those already established and existing characters who are core to the character's history and the character's mythology. That's going to show me that you're serious about diversity. Bringing in and putting Brown on Mary Jane does not show me diversity. I can think of another great role that this Zendaya could play, and that is in DC Comics' Top Strong as Tesla Strong. Now, you really want to see that? That's a film that shows you diversity, because the Tom Strong concept, does a great job of showing diversity. Here you have Tom Strong, the brilliant scientist, and he's married to an African woman, I think, and he has a biracial daughter named Tesla Strong. A lot of people don't know that, but that's a great role you could put your Zendaya in, and she would do very well in, because it shows diversity. And it shows it beautifully. It shows that this interracial family works well together, works well with others, and gets along with people all over the world. As Tom Strong goes out to save the world, but nobody wants to talk about that concept because it doesn't generate, arguments, back and forths, and the things that a lot of producers these days live for when it comes down to comic books and this whole diversity thing. When it comes down to this diversity in comics, it's just another gimmick like the one they had when they created this black female Iron Man, this female Thor, this Asian Hulk, and this Hispanic Ghost Rider. All those characters were created for diversity, but we rarely ever see them, up front in mainstream images. They're just there really as tokens. And this is what my issue is with all this diversity. It's like you're saying that you're bringing characters of color in, but they're not characters that people are going to take seriously, because everyone knows the real characters were white males. And as I see it, it's like a half-hearted attempt at diversity. When we talk about diversity, if you really want to talk about diversity, why isn't Marvel or DC or any of these other companies, Warner Brothers, the owner of DC, or many of these other companies, talking about the number of blacks and people of color working for them? Because even when they cast these people like Zendaya as Mary Jane and create these diversity knockoff heroes like a black female Iron Man and the Asian Hulk, we see that the creators of them still remain 95% white and 95% male. I mean, guys like me who have been trying to break into the comic book industry for over 25 years have not been able to find a way in. And when it comes down to it, you don't see any black males or black females as a part of the comic book business. They're just not there in large numbers. There is no real diversity. When you look at these diversity hires, yeah, they look great on screen and they look great in print, but there are no black people behind the scenes, creating stories for these characters. So when I look at this old attempt and all these people getting excited and arguing about it, they're arguing over something superficial. If we really want to see some real diversity, if these companies were really serious about diversity, they would be making efforts to contact guys like myself towards working for them or working with them, and trying to really make an effort towards creating characters of color, more prominent as a part of their universe, instead of trying to make ancillary characters who will soon be forgotten or discarded in the next reboot or the next film that comes out. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe.